Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 5 things that I learned while I went wedding dress shopping. Now I know that this video is kind of random because half of you are probably already married or not even close to getting married. But regardless, I really just wanted to do this video because when I went wedding dress shopping, there was so much that I didn't know and so much that I wish I did differently. And I feel like wherever you are in this stage of life, I feel like this can totally be applied, even if you're gonna go like prom dress shopping, but more so whenever you get to the point where you have to go pick out your wedding dress. I think that this stuff that I'm going to share with you guys is just going to be really helpful and just some things to really think about when that time comes. So that being said, that's what I'm going to be doing for today's video. I have a new background, if you haven't noticed. The decor needs a lot of work. I bought these shelves a while back and I haven't actually bought like actual decor to put up on it, if that makes sense. So it's still in the works, but this is kind of the gist of what it looks like. And to be honest, I don't have any chairs or any tables or anything in this house right now. So I am sitting on my trash can. I'm being real with you guys, that's what I'm sitting on. But if you guys missed my most recent video, I posted a video of Grayson and I just doing a little bit more of apartment decorations. And one of those things was putting up this shelf right here. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, I'll link it down below. But with all that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So to start off, I will say that I think a lot of what contributed to how I went about finding my wedding dress was the fact that I had a very limited time to look for a wedding dress. And the reason being is because once Grayson and I got engaged, our wedding was planned to be like 6 months after, I think. So I had about 6 months to look for a wedding dress, but within those 6 months, I was still doing missionary work. And so in reality, by the time I was done with all of that, I only had like a good 2.5 months to look for a wedding dress. And guys, it can totally be done because I did it. And so many people have done it, but that is a really tough time slot to work with, okay? But needless to say, it happened, and here's a picture of my wedding dress, and it turned out beautiful. I loved it, and it looked good in pictures, but also looking back at it and looking at other things that I've found online, I definitely would have picked a different wedding dress if I could have. So the very first thing that I will say is I had a vision for how I wanted my dress to look, but something that I wish I would have done, and the very first tip that I'm going to give you guys, is to try on different styles, even if it's not what you envisioned. And the reason I say this is because I always had this vision that I wanted my dress to be nicely fitted and an open back, the straps to be nice and thin, and just for it to look nice and delicate. And I found a dress like that, which is what I ended up wearing for my wedding, but looking back, I would have totally picked something different from what I actually wore. I wanted something a lot more free-flowy, free-spirited kind of thing, and I think that I just closed myself off to so many options because I had this vision in my head of everything that I looked for on Pinterest and that I found online, that I was okay, this is what my dress has to look like. So I was so closed off to trying different styles and different materials and all this stuff that in a sense helps because it limits my options so I can make a decision, but it also limits my options to where I feel like I could have found a better dress. So my first tip for you guys is obviously, Pinterest stuff and kind of envision what you have for yourself because it's important to know those things, but also allow yourself to just kind of try stuff on. So that's my first point. The second thing I'm going to say is when it comes to wedding dress shopping, you obviously have the option to go try on a dress and then order it to your size, and then it comes mailed to the store a couple months later, and then you get it fitted and all that jazz. There's also the other option where I fell into this category just because of such little time that I had, and it's called off-the-rack dresses. These dresses tend to be cheaper and you don't order them online, so what it means is whatever they have in store is whatever they have. So if I found a dress that I liked and it wasn't my size, then I'd have to get it fitted because there's not another one to order. So that kind of limited my options too, because I had a less variety of like dresses to work with, because I couldn't work with like stuff that I saw online or stuff that would actually fit me, if that makes sense. So I had to go about like looking for my dress with whatever the store actually had. And don't be freaked out if you fall in this category, because there's still so many options. The only thing that you run across is limited sizes, and then having to deal with like getting it fitted a lot more than you would a normal dress. I would just say, like, do your research. That's my second point. Do your research and kind of figure out like what, you know, stylists, or what's that called, designers, what kind of designers you like the kind of dresses that you're kind of going for. Look for those types of designers and what stores have those price ranges and those sizes, especially if you're looking at off the rack dresses. And just like do your research to kind of like figure out where to go and what they have, so that you're not like just showing up to places and kind of wasting your time. So that's my second point for you guys. I did not do that, and I kind of regret it, because once I had gotten my wedding dress and I saw like the name of my designer, I like looked them up online and I was like, wow, like why didn't I do this earlier? Like, if I would have done my research, then when I would have gone to the store, the people would know what kind of dress I was looking for. So I think that that's just one of those things that like isn't like crucial, because at the end of the day, my first point was that you should just try on like a couple different styles, but I still think that it will definitely help, especially if you're on a time crunch. The next thing is the topic of how much to spend on your wedding dress. So my wedding dress, I think, was $1,000. And that sounds like a lot, but also not a lot, because we're talking wedding dresses. So my dress, I bought it off the rack, so it was final sale. I think that you don't necessarily have to spend so much on the actual dress, but what I would be okay with spending a lot more money on is getting it fitted. And the reason I say this is because, so I bought my wedding dress. It was a little bit more pricier than what I expected to be spending on a wedding dress, to be honest. But what I did not spend a lot of money on was getting my dress fitted. So instead of getting my dress fitted at like an actual like wedding dress store where like this is their job to do it, I went to my mom's friend, and she's great. She's fixed a lot of stuff for us in the past, and honestly the way she fixed my dress was like, it worked and it looked good in photos, and it functioned for my wedding and it fit me well. The only thing is the chest area turned out a little bigger than like what my actual chest size is, and that's because we modified the straps on the dress, which kind of just like messed with the whole chest area. And I'm really glad that like you couldn't tell in the photos or anything along those lines that like the dress wasn't properly fitted. But there is like rare occasions in like certain clips of our wedding video, or I just remember like certain moments in my actual wedding day where like I could tell that like my dress was just like bigger than it needed to be in this area. So if you guys can like try and budget again and do your research to like find cheaper dresses, by all means do it, because then you have more of a budget and more money to work with to like style it and fit it to your liking. The only thing I will say is like wedding stuff in general is just really expensive, so you have to figure out where you want to spend your money and where you want to save some money. And I'll definitely do a whole nother video on that, like when it comes to like wedding decorations and all of that stuff. But when it comes to your wedding dress, like guys, the goal is to only get married once, okay? And so because you want to feel good and look good, like the one thing that I would say is to not cut down on budget. Like, don't spend less than you should when it comes to getting your dress fitted, when it comes to getting your makeup done, and when it comes to getting your hair done. So when it comes to like those things, to kind of like present yourself and get yourself together for that wedding, like it's okay to splurge a little bit in this area, I would say. So that being said, my third tip with that is just like, you know, be mindful of how much you spend on your dress, because at the end of the day, you're only wearing it once. But also, because you're only doing this once, like, don't sell yourself short and allow yourself to splurge a little bit for it to, you know, fit nice and look nice, because it's really important. And like the way you feel and look is going to affect, you know, your wedding video, your wedding photos, and your wedding day. So that's really, really important. And that's one of the things that I definitely wish I would have spent a little bit more money on, for sure, was getting it fitted. Because I mean, obviously at the end of the day, I loved my wedding and I like had such a good time, and looking back at it, like that's the only thing, like honestly, that I'm like, shoot, like I wish I could have changed was my wedding dress, but even more so the way it was fitted. So I hope that helped. Moving on to my next point. My fourth point is to bring along supportive people. So when you go wedding dress shopping, I've found that so oftentimes like certain stylists are just not nice. Like they either think that you don't have enough money, so they'll show you really cheap dresses, or they'll like be too busy helping other people. Or in my case, what would happen a lot was I was getting married young. And so I feel like people weren't taking me seriously when I was like, okay, this is what I want my wedding dress to look like, or this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm budgeting for. Like, I feel like they helped me out of the fact that like it was their job, but not like, you know, like they genuinely wanted to help me, if that makes sense. So bringing supportive people is really, really important. You know, your parents or your sister, or you know, whoever, your bridesmaids or maid of honor, or whoever that's going to be. In my case, I had my mom and my aunt accompany me, and then my sister and my dad joined me another time. Needless to say, it's just really important, I feel like, to have supportive people to like go with you and help you out, so that they can kind of like give you honest opinions of, you know, what looks good and what doesn't, and to kind of just like help you, you know, undress, because it's like really difficult because the dresses are huge, or to like hold the dresses. Like there's just so much that goes into like wedding dress shopping that I feel like we don't think about. So having supportive people is really, really important. And like, you know, obviously trying on dresses is a huge part of your wedding day, if that makes sense, because like it's still something that, you know, it's your first time doing and you're hoping to only do once. And so it should just be a really happy and exciting time for you. So it's good to have people to share that with you. So that brings me to my final point though, my fifth one, which is kind of contradictory, but like if you don't have people to go with, like still go by yourself. This is something that I wish I would have done, just because, so I loved having people there to support me and to help me. But also, you know, people have busy schedules, they have other stuff to like deal with, and I only had 2 months to find this dress, so I was definitely on a time crunch. And so I wish that I would have just like been a little bit more brave and jumped on it to just like go to the stores by myself and just kind of like try stuff on as well, because like I needed to find a dress. I luckily found one, and it was fairly priced in my opinion. Again, the only thing that I would say is like the whole fitting situation. And I'm going to insert some pictures here. It's really similar to kind of how I envisioned my wedding dress, as far as like an open back and skinny straps, and just nice and delicate in the front. It was pretty. It had a really nice, like, what is it, a tail or trail or whatever you call it. The only thing is it was a very like thick material, and I like really wanted something that was a lot more like free-spirited. So I feel like I could have done better, but you know, it is what it is. Alright guys, so that is basically it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed that and that it was somewhat helpful. Comment down below where you are in your stage of life, whether you're single, engaged, dating, or if you're already married. If you are married or if you're engaged, comment down below what your experience has been like when you went wedding dress shopping, because it was difficult, honestly. Like, looking back at it, like, I had such a great time at my wedding and I loved everything about it. But again, there was things that I would have wanted to change. And one of those things was how I went about picking out my wedding dress. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. And also, even if you're not getting married, like some of the things that I said, again, I feel like can still so easily be taken into consideration when you're like prom dress shopping, because I know that prom dress shopping can get really expensive and like unnecessarily expensive, and it's also really just hard to find a dress to begin with. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that video. Make sure and give it a thumbs up if you did. Comment down below what else you guys would be interested in watching, or what else you'd like to hear about my experience when it comes to like my wedding and being married and all that jazz. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. Have a great weekend, and I will see you guys on Tuesday. Bye.